Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. And after getting back from her sojourn to Guatemala, Reparation H, Kamala Harris, she's the vice president. She sat down with Lester Holt, and, the funt was back.
Yeah,
America's favorite aunt, fun aunt, the laughter, the infectious personality she has was back.
Yeah, you said that the other day. You said, I want, the laughter back. And Dan, she delivered just for you.
Okay. Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
That's so weird.
And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned it because I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district, has said to you and the president, come. You need to see this.
Listen, I care about what's happening at the border. I'm in Guatemala.
So she's, yeah.
All I wanted to know was that she cared. That was fun. I mean,
she's not going to go to the border, but she's talking about border issues. So she was in Guatemala, then she went to Mexico.
Wait, has she never been to Europe, or she just hasn't been to Europe as vice president?
As vice president, she hasn't been to Europe. Well, you know what? I don't know, actually. But it was
I'd like
very
to know.
weird. Nice pivot, huh? All of a sudden, it's like, then the sky is blue.
Well, wait, Mr. Kamala Harris never took you to Europe?
I'm sure she's been. There's no way. How could you live? I mean.
Well, a lot of people don't go to Europe. They're Miss Elitist, but Kamala Harris.
She's
Kamala
a senator.
Harris
I'm sure there's
one of our
point in
betters. She's one of our betters.
But wasn't that a weird pivot for a question like? Because that was the fourth time that Lester had asked her, "Why aren't you going to the border?"
I'll cede my comment on that comment to Andrew Sullivan, because I always like to cede my time to men and women of the left when they agree with me. And Andrew Sullivan's comment was one of the least talented politicians in the country, Kamala Harris. And I thought actually that was generous on his account. Now, the border is not something that Democrat socialists take seriously. So let's get to stuff they do take seriously. Spending money we don't have. And this goes to, of course, the Green New Deal, quote unquote, infrastructure divide between Republicans and Democrats. Joe Biden has ended negotiations with Republicans, so on and so forth. And John Tester from Montana, who really, he fashions himself sort of as a moderate Democrat, but he's really not, generally speaking. It's sort of shocking that he has staying power in Montana, because his rancher persona is belied by his actual performance. Tester was on with Tapper, say that 10 times fast.
Yeah. Mr. Tapper.
Talking about that, the infrastructure spend, plus the filibuster. Take a listen.
Well, look, I think that the filibuster ends up producing, I think, legislation that stands the test of time. That being said, the filibuster can and has been abused greatly and continues to be abused. Look at the January 6th Commission as a prime example. Look, I want to see the filibuster stay in place, but if people are going to use it just to block legislation because they can, then we're going to have to reevaluate it. I'm not there yet, but I will tell you, votes like the January 6th Commission were very disturbing. I was here. I saw what happened. You saw what happened. This is a big deal. We need to get to the bottom of it. And it's not about politics.
No,
it's about this nation. It's about how we move forward. It's about if we're going to let domestic extremism and domestic violence rule the day. And I'm not in that group. I think we need to find out what happened, and we need to make adjustments.
Is there anything more entertaining when a politician tells you it's not about politics? It's an interesting position he has on the filibuster. Apparently, Tapper didn't want to engage on this. So let me just understand. You support the filibuster in principle because it produces legislation that endures the test of time. That's what you said. Except when the filibuster prevents something that you want to happen from happening, then you don't support it anymore. That's a really interesting position of the filibuster. That is essentially the position of Chuck Schumer and blowing up the filibuster. But Tester wants to have it both ways. I know this isn't about politics, though. For more on all of this and more, Salena Zito, Washington Examiner reporter, New York Post columnist, CNN contributor, and author of best-selling Great Revolt, Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping America, and the Reshaping Continues. Salena, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, let's start with VP Harris. She had a successful trip to Guatemala. This is going well. Her riding point on the border.
Well, obviously we're not privy to any internal conversations that they've had. However, if we're talking about what she is portraying, what she is transmitting to the American public through the public events, I don't think she's done the best job that she possibly can. She's the interview with Holt was uncomfortable and awkward, and she came across as an unserious person on a very serious subject matter. You have to understand how the American people look at what's going on at the border. You don't need to look any further than states like Texas, where border communities, which are majority Hispanic population, not only flipped during the presidential election and voted for then President Donald Trump, but they've also done it in local elections. There was just a mayoral race a couple of days ago where a city that has long had a succession of Democratic mayors, Hispanic mayors, voted for a non-Hispanic Republican, right. And so these issues they are ignoring at the most granular level do rise up and impact larger elections.
But did you expect more from Kamala Harris, and has she been set up to fail here?
Well, I mean, there's certainly been that argument. I don't know that, but I do know that she has not always been her own best advocate for whatever she's trying to promote, whether it was the Kavanaugh hearings or the debates in 2020 and or so far her outward performance as vice president. You can go back and take a look at how she responded during the address in front of the Navy midshipmen, and she turned it into an event about solar panels and gender. And this, here in that interview with Holt, I still don't understand about the "I've never been to Europe" line.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher.
I don't know. Yes, I
so
really
bizarre.
Be serious in this moment. Don't be flippant, because it's a serious event that's happening in the country.
Yeah. Going over to what Senator Tester had to say and where things stand with the strategy that Senate Democrats are going to employ with an adverse ruling from the Senate parliamentarian on reconciliation. And now it sounds, Manchin is the focus, but it's a lot more senators than just Manchin that are queasy about blowing up the filibuster.
Yeah, I mean, look, Manchin's the fall guy. I have a story coming out today with a lengthy interview with him over a series of several different events over the past 6 weeks. And if people want to check it out, it's a really interesting story. They can go to SelenaZito.com. But, Manchin isn't the only one that doesn't want to blow up the filibuster. He's the fall guy because he doesn't mind being the fall guy, because he's the guy with the most visible state, a state that is very moderate in nature, whether the voters are Republican or Democrat, and he has stayed true to where he's from. There's a lot of people out there who boast either with a hashtag or a super PAC or, whatever, that say, country before party, but that's just a slogan for them. For Manchin, he does live those words. and he does put his state and he does put the country and the traditions of the Senate ahead of what his political party demands of him. And whether you like his politics or not, or you like him or not, you have to admire that fortitude in the face of all the backlash that he gets.
Since you're out there in Steel Curtain Land and you stay out of the out of the Beltway and out in small and mid-sized town America, what's your sense of whether or not the ground is shifting under Democrats as it pertains to two issues that could really hurt them, I think, in the midterms? Violent crime in big cities and critical race theory in the schools.
Well, I think here's the thing most people didn't pay attention to. The ground had already shifted against them in last year's election. So all of those Black Lives Matter protests and signs in people's yards and signs that hate has no home here, and the pressure that people felt from corporations, our cultural curators, whether they were sports entities or corporations or the news media, the American people didn't buckle. And if you look down ballot, Republicans had a surprisingly great night in November of 2020. They gained 14 seats in the House. They were supposed to lose 20. They gained seats in state legislative bodies across the country. They were supposed to lose majorities. And while they lost Georgia, and that was a very specific and interesting dynamic and a story for another day, they were supposed to lose 7 U.S. Senate seats, and they did not. So the ground was already pushing back against these cultural issues, and I think it's even shifting more since last November.
Well, that's it. The interesting thing is that's not the takeaway that the Democrats have, clearly, because they've doubled down since the November election. And so the question would be, if you're going to double down, then so is the electorate, and it's likely in the midterm to be an electorate that's less favorable to you to begin with. So there could be a real paradigm shift in both chambers come November of 22.
Absolutely. So I say this all the time. Voters keep sending a message to Washington with their vote, and Washington keeps misreading it. Democrats are doing that right now. They think, "Oh my gosh, you love us. You want to do everything. You want us to do everything we want to do." No, that's not what voters told you. Voters told you that they were unhappy with the direction of the country. They were not telling you that you get to be a kid in a candy store and throw out, like you're in a parade in a small town, all the candy to the people, and they're gonna love you. That's not what 2020 was about.
You recently wrote a column on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and it was interesting. President Trump's comment the other day, I think he was talking to Stuart Varney, where he was asked about DeSantis as a running mate, and he said, "Oh, sure, I consider Ron DeSantis as a running mate if I run." A way to sort of keep DeSantis in the second slot, where a lot of discussion, of course, is DeSantis as the nominee in 24 right now. A long time to go. But what's your sense of the dynamic between Trump and DeSantis as they sort of both position for 24, and with DeSantis having to obviously get reelected in 22 first?
Right. I don't think that there's a tension there, because if Trump ran, DeSantis wouldn't run. However, I am one of those few people in the world that doesn't think Donald Trump's going to run in 2024. I really don't. I think he understands that he made history. He was able to accomplish a lot. He changed the political party, and dear God in heaven, why would you want that job?
Well, they're just going to be more impeachment after impeachment.
Yeah.
He'll be the most impeached person walking on this planet.
He is at present.
He is. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. But a lot of Trump supporters, they want him in, and they would like DeSantis as his running mate.
Maybe. I think you need to double down and listen to voters. There's a lot of people who really absolutely love Donald Trump. Absolutely think he's the best president that they've had in their lifetime. However, they're not, if you listen to them, they're not completely wedded to him running again. And a lot of people think maybe it's time to pass the torch.
Right.
And it's not a slight to the former president. It's an acknowledgement that it's time to hand over to the next generation. And you've created that next generation, since forever and ever you will be, meaning Trump, you will be associated with that success.
She is Salena Zito, Washington Examiner reporter, New York Post columnist, CNN contributor, and author of The Great Revolt, still more relevant with each passing day, The Great Revolt, Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping American Politics. Salena, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance.
Traders, listen up. As life in America starts to return to normal, are you looking for the best trading opportunities? With the current real estate market, the rise of crypto, and the volatility of tech stocks, it's virtually impossible to guess what will happen next. With Vantage Point, you don't have to. Text the word money to 813-813 to learn how our technology analyzes over 1 million data points per day. Text the word money to 813-813 so you can learn how to predict market trends up to 3 days in advance with incredible accuracy. Whether you're trading stocks, options, forex, futures, or crypto, Vantage Point's patented artificial intelligence can give you a massive edge. Text money to 813-813 to find out how to maximize your gains. Text the word money to 813-813 to learn how to use the volatility to your advantage. Don't wait. Text the word money to 813-813 now.
Go to VantagePointSoftware.com for terms, conditions, and privacy policy.
Don't miss the flooring sale of the century, Century Tile and Carpet Retirement Liquidation Sale. Save up to 75% off ceramic tile, carpet, stone, luxury, vinyl, and laminate.